Welcome back, everyone, to Anonymous Addiction Deprogramming Podcast. Welcome, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe. Like us if you do. If you don't press the dislike button. So today we're I'm gonna title this "Freedom from the Labels, Stigma, and Myths of the Disease Called Alcoholism." Labels, stigma. I'm gonna say why it's a stigma. Before they used to say they created the disease concept to eliminate the stigma. I'm going to show you, I'm going to point out some things. Just a disclaimer. I'm not here to tell anyone to leave Alcoholics Anonymous, tell anyone to leave the 12-step program. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just pointing out some things that I found out. And maybe they can help you, maybe they don't, to all the people that have loved ones that are suffering, suffering with the sufferings of people that have problematic drinking, drug use, and process addictions. I understand exactly how you feel. And I understand exactly how somebody may think that, Bobby, you may be hurting somebody if you say that they don't have a disease. Well, I'm going to point out some things that I could tell you that I definitely am not hurting people. I'm helping them. I'm helping them to set them free, power of choice, and discover some things and going beyond the 12-step paradigm and going beyond actually the addiction recovery industry paradigm. I could say trap, which it does get to be a trap. Now, people usually go to the history of Alcoholics Anonymous for their information, but for the disease concept, you have to go way back to the 1800s. And everybody heard this before in a lot of my podcasts, but I'm going to just make it quick. And Benjamin Rush. There's Benjamin Rush, good old Benjamin. He was a politician. He was a physician, and he had a belief. He had a belief that alcohol was a poison and it was dangerous to society. And I don't have any disagreement. Here's one of his flyers way back then. Disease. Okay, he called it a disease, alcohol, the great enemy, which I actually agree with him. I think alcohol and the devastating consequences that it has on society is very dangerous, problematic, and I don't think we hold the alcohol and pharmaceutical industries accountable for the devastations in the world. So I agree with him there. I don't agree. I don't like the, and he probably used the word disease just to make a point, to get people's attention. I'm going to point out, we're going to talk about labels too. We're going to talk about, after Magnum Huss, Huss, 1849. This is after Benjamin Rush. He coined the word alcoholism. Okay, so I'm going to kind of break down both of the disease, the labels, the stigma, and alcoholism. I'm going to kind of tie it all together and tell the audience why I prefer none of these labels. Okay, and I would think that it's a healthier, more productive, and it doesn't keep me stuck into, let's just say, the 12-step paradigm. So when we talk about the stigma, the weird part about it is because the AMA, let's talk about labels here, the stigma. The National Drug Council strategy somewhat redundantly has recognized substance use as a brain disease and medical condition. Now, we have to understand that I'm sure we're thankful that insurances are paying, excuse me, paying for the rehabs, detoxes. We understand that. That's a good thing and a bad thing. Okay. Some people think they need rehab. Some people go to 5, 6 rehabs. Some people go to 10 detoxes. I found out it's really not the rehab. It's not the detoxes. It's not the treatment. It's not the modality. It's not the method. It's the person. It's got to come from the person. Let me take a little sip of this. grape juice, orange juice. Let me pause this here and clear my throat. Okay, I'm back. I had to clear my throat. Okay, now I'm looking at these sheets here from DSM, the APA, American Psychiatrist Association. I'm reading. These are facts. These are not facts. These are written by the DSM, and the APA controls the DSM, and the AMA controls all the doctors, psychiatrists, and the World Health Organization controls. So it's a layer of professionalism. I was going to do a podcast on professionalism, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the thing is, stigma rooted in the misperceptions that a substance use disorder is a personal moral failing rather than a brain disease. They'd rather say, oh, it's not a moral failing, it's a brain disease. First of all, with the moral failings, morals and values, that's not going to cut it in insurance, paying for insurance. And the National Drug Control strategy is somewhat redundant. I mentioned that. They call it a brain disease. Okay. So we're talking about labels. And then they say here, the policy explicitly suggests avoiding terms such as addict, addiction, alcoholic, because of the negative connotation, which I agree. I'm all about no labels. So I'm all about not calling myself an alcoholic and not having a disease of alcoholism. So Marty Mann comes up, she's the promoter of AA's pushing AA, pushing the disease concept. Dr. Silkworth, we can mention Dr. Silkworth. Okay, everybody's heard of him. He's a physician. He told Bill, push the disease concept. Because Silkworth had no cure. He had no idea how to deal with Bill W. or any alcoholic. So he led him to the disease concept, and he said, even Carl Jung, everyone heard about Dr. Carl Jung, who Bill just wrote him a letter after Roland H. went to see him. And Dr. Jung told him, go back and get a spiritual conversion. Join the churches. Go back to religion and get a spiritual. Roland belonged to the Oxford group. So the Oxford group was a religion. So he had his conversion, spiritual conversion. So they're calling it a disease, but they're saying it's not a moral issue. It's not a moral failing. But then again, if you go into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, on page 59, it says, step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. They're saying that we have to search our morals. What is right and wrong? Okay, so they're saying, let's call it a disease so you don't have the stigma of being morally deficient. But we are. Okay. And then even the DSM says stigma associated with the condition, but not limited to treatment of addiction, is stigma associated with the condition, stigma rooted in the misconception that substance use disorder is a personal moral failing. No, rather it's a brain disease. So there's only one reason why they want the disease concept, and everyone knows it's got to be covered by insurance. The DSM is controlled and written by professionals that are designated. Okay, they're designated it started in 1892, Professional Psychology Association. The council's, today's worth 60 million. It's the board of directors control it, and they sit around rewriting the DSM. We have the DSM-5 now. Okay, rewriting it, changing it a little bit. Now they call it a disorder, but they say it's still a brain disease, but they're calling it a disorder because everything today is a disorder now. And actually we're out of order. Okay, holistically, integratively, mindfully, spiritually, body, mind, and spirit. We're out of order. And yes, we're diseased. We're diseased. We're not at ease. I agree with that. So they say it's a disease. Silkworth says push the disease concept. Now they're saying it's a moral. Now it's moral. Even in the smart recovery books, hierarchy of values. It's talking about check our values out. It talks about check our rational, logical, cognitive behavior, which is a moral inventory in itself. Now let me go back. I'm going to go back to Marty Mann's story back here, if I could find it real quick. Look, in Marty's story, she was the women suffer too. This is what Marty said in her story. I wasn't mad at all. I was a sick person. I was suffering from an acute disease. This is back in 1939 when Marty was pushing the disease to educate all of society. And it was manipulated by the puppet masters. Marty was just a puppet of Smithers family, Rockefeller way before that, who set up all the medical, modern medical medicine, changed it all, universities and college, and they want to pump out all the new stuff. And they let Marty control the alcohol and drug deal. Marty, Christopher Smithers, and of course, Jurenick, he came up with, he wrote a paper. He did the study with a bunch of alcoholics. So they all used Alcoholics Anonymous. So they went back 1939, 1939, 1940, 42. They went back and used a bunch of alcoholics for designing and creating the disease concept. There, Marty continues. It had no name. I was suffering from an acute disease that had a name. You know what that name is? They named it alcoholism. It had a name. Alcoholic, alcoholism, addict. Like diabetes or cancer or TB, a disease was respectable, not moral stigma. It wasn't a moral stigma. No. But then they tell you it's all about a moral inventory. And if it's all about a disease, then how is the only cure for this so-called disease that they created, this myth of a disease? The only cure is no human power can relieve it. Okay. No human power can relieve it. And God could and would if he was sought. First of all, we're alcoholics, we're powerless. This is, if anyone doesn't know, it's at the end of the steps in the step big book. It's at the end of the steps, A, B, and C. It's read 1 million times a day throughout the program. Stay, don't run. If you're still at an Alcoholics Anonymous, if you want to listen, just listen, be open, have an open mind. I'm not telling anybody to listen to me and do what I'm saying and run. And look, this thing's a process. Okay, life's a process. So at least I didn't have this opportunity. 38 years ago, I didn't even have, there wasn't the internet. We didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet. I didn't have the opportunity that people have today. I'm speaking for the next generation. I'm speaking for this generation, but the next and the next and the next. Hopefully I'll be part of this trend that is going through the world right now, that debunks all the myths, going beyond this 12-step paradigm and going beyond the addiction recovery industry, which is a I'm saying $1 trillion today industry, okay, creating warehouses. That's just in that story. Let's go back to uh, this story here, right here. Anonymous number 3. Anonymous number 3. This is there. Anonymous number 3. That was the number 3rd member, Bill D. Okay, let me read this here. Okay, this is Bill and Bob talking to Bill, the lawyer, just came out of rehab. You know, Dr. Silkworth's rehab. Here we go. We got some bad news for you. It was bad news for us. Whether you're quit 6 days, a month, a year, if you go out and take a drink or two, you'll end up in the hospital, tied up, maybe dead, just like you have been in the past. You're an alcoholic. You are an alcoholic. They're telling them what they are, but they're only suggestions, but they're telling them what he is. This is back then and it's still going on today. Watch out. I am the 2 greatest words in the universe. I am. Watch what you put after that, because everybody. Now I'm just telling you, you don't have to do this, but when you're in an Alcoholics Anonymous, you don't have to raise your hand and say, I am an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic. I am powerless. No, we're powerful. Okay. We had a problematic habitual habit. Now we don't. We're recovered from that. I mean, come on, let's get real. Yeah, stay on track. Be focused. Check out what you want. You know, the mind, reprogramming your mind. You have to deprogram stuff first before you reprogram. Reprogramming your mind, rewiring your DNA, you know, on a daily basis. Yeah, you don't have to do it on a daily basis, but do some things to focus, not focusing on alcohol and drugs, because every time you go into a 12-step meeting or anywhere, I don't care if it's NA, CA, MA, AA, there's like 30 of them. I can name them again, but I named them in my other podcast. Go in there and they're going to reinforce, you're going to hear it again, and it's going to be refocused back to all the problems that you had with alcohol, staying stuck. That's why I'm talking about this, because I believe I am helping free people from the enslavement. Yeah, talk about enslavement. Let's talk about, let me go back and finish this up with, this is the 2nd story in the big book. As far as I know, that was the first time I had ever heard and paid attention to the word. I figured I was just a drunk. And they said, no, you have a disease. Bill and Bob told Bill D, no, you have a disease. Now, Silkworth tells them to push the disease. They're not medical doctors. Here we go. We got one doctor, okay? One doctor, one opinion. But they tell us, what do they tell us in Alcoholics Anonymous? Don't have opinions. Opinions are like, as everyone has one, right? But we're going by one doctor's opinion, okay? And then they think that Dr. Carl Jung had so much influence on Alcoholics Anonymous. No, because I'll get into who else, you know, and all the other players, but here we go. No, you have a disease, and it didn't make any difference how long you did without it, okay? Here's where they got the 24-hour deal. Sure, yes, 24 hours. Yes, you could do it for 24 hours, 24 hours. They repeat it over and over again. And then they told Bill D, They said, we have a cure for this thing called alcoholism. This is back in 1939, alcoholism. Who was the first one that coined the word alcoholism? Magnus Huss. Magnus Huss, 1849. They're just repeating words without any scientific proof. It's almost like it's like today, whatever they tell you, right? This here, they were doing trials on like 100. They were using a trial of Alcoholics Anonymous, like 100 people, maybe 180 people, and having them fill out questionnaires. And they were using that as their statistical determination for a diagnosis of this disease that was coined because Magnus Huss wrote a paper. It coined alcoholism. And then back then, with Benjamin Rush saying it's a disease. And like I said, I agree with Benjamin Rush. Actually, look, I'm not a prohibitionist. I believe in the power of choice. But alcohol is everywhere and promoted by everything. It's crazy. Observe the TV shows that you're watching. Observe all the shows that you're watching on Netflix. All the shows, there's alcohol everywhere. Everybody's drinking it. And they want us to believe that's norm. That's the norm. Yeah. Did you know that the pharmaceutical alcohol industry and the AMA, they're huge lobbyists. Okay, the AMA is one of the nation's leading lobbying forces, along with big pharma, alcohol industry. Alcohol industry is a huge lobbyist. Okay, it's crazy. DSM stands for Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It's just like when Jurenick did his statistics. They sat around a room with Marty Mann, Christopher Smithers, and a couple other people, Bill W. and probably Silkworth, and sat around. The same thing that they do in here in the papers. The exact same thing they do. The council sits around, the APA sits around, makes decisions, and says, yeah, let's make that the criteria. That's what professionals, they're paid. They're paid. Engaged professional, a paid occupation, especially one that involves prolonged training and a formal qualification, degree, diploma. Yes, from colleges and universities. Yes, it was all set up that way. From, the Rockefeller, I keep on mentioning him. Why not? Carnegie, J.P. Morgan. Why not? Because he was the one. That's a fact. Look it up. Rockefeller Medicine. Look it up. The Flexner Report. Look it all up. Look at all the payments. Look how the millions and millions and millions of dollars that were pumped into the educational system. And the alcohol and drug was just a little tiny, tiny, small piece of the puzzle. That's why I always say connect the dots, follow the money, connect the pieces to the puzzle for the whole picture. Okay? Check out the whole picture. Don't forget to subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, peeps, my peeps out there. I appreciate all the people that subscribe. Let's go. So it's a contradiction in here. No, not a moral issue, not a moral standing, but come on. So they pumped it out. Silkworth, one opinion, 164 pages. They kept on repeating the word alcoholism from the 1800s, diseased from the 1800s. So about education, training, colleges, universities, Rockefeller foundations. It's about foundations. It's about nonprofits. nonprofits. Alcoholics Anonymous is separate corporations, 3 separate corporations. They don't the money doesn't go to the top. Check out all the trustees. There's only about 12 of them. I think there's nine. There's 9 professionals who run the whole thing, because everyone looks up to the professionals with the degrees. Society tells us to. Okay. I'm so grateful I'm not a professional. Okay. I was professional. I wasn't a professional in many, many other stages of my life. I went from loving real estate to working in real estate to being a broker's assistant to becoming a real estate broker, selling houses. I was like one of the first flippers back in the 90s that nobody even heard about flipping homes, and I was doing. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just showing I had my licenses. You had to join this. You had to join the Realtors Association. You had to belong to the MLS. You had to do this. You had to go here. You had to go there. You had to dress up. You had to get a car. You got to fake it till you make it. You got to be, dressed up with the tie and suit. They're the ones that make it. It's fake. Okay. It's really not real. We're living in a fake world, and it's all made up for a sole purpose. Okay, let's go. Oh, here we go. Remember I was talking about the enslavement? I believe Alcoholics Anonymous enslaves us from growing. I want people to grow. Your family members and friends, if anyone's listening to this and saying, Bobby, you could discourage somebody from going to Alcoholics Anonymous. Go. They're going to make you go anyhow, because that's the network. Once the parents and friends stop using and people calling people alcoholic, because as soon as they call me alcoholic, when they want to call me diseased and alcoholic, like they did in the very beginning, society labeled me 38 years ago. They labeled Bobby C. an alcoholic, and I have this disease. I'm not responsible anymore. I have a slip, I go out, drink it. I'm not responsible. It's the disease. The disease did it. I'm an alcoholic. I got an excuse. What's your excuse? Okay. Every person that ever got sober, millions and millions and millions of people that got sober, they're getting sober right this moment. They're not drinking, using, doing process addiction, or they're improving on their mental health. They're addicted to something else. Okay. Not just they're addicted. We're all addicted to something. Okay. Addiction is problematic. The word addiction can be bullshit too. Okay. The word addiction. Look, I drink coffee every day. It's a habit. It's not bothering me. It's not coming into cause and effect, real bad consequences. And if it did, I'd stop. I'd become aware of it. We're smart enough to become aware. So back to enslavement. So all the drug councils, all the DSMs, all the APAs, all the World Health Organization, Silkworth and Carl Jung didn't even know how to deal with it, because they can't change them. They can't fix them. They didn't cause them. Okay. It only comes from us. Learning about the consciousness, the subconscious, the unconscious, learning about how we reprogram our minds. Everything is just a pointer. We are the way. We are the solution. So getting back to enslavement. So, okay, let's see, where do I have that? Oh, here we go. The word addiction is derived from the Latin word addict, meaning assigned. And it goes on, it says, typically referred to the bond of slavery that lenders impose upon delinquent debtors or victims. They want us to be a debtor. See, we're indebted to Alcoholics Anonymous, devotion to someone or something. They wanted me to give my will, my life, and my care over to Alcoholics Anonymous, which I did. I was in there for many, many, many years. I proved everything wrong. and I did it my way. I went their way and did their way. And it both, it was a placebo. It was all from me. No matter what I did, if I didn't do it and it worked, it was from me. If I did do it and it worked, it was from me. It was all placebo. It was all me. I was creating my own program and giving them credit, giving everybody else credit. We're creating our own programs. We're rewiring our brains. We're reprogramming, you know, genetic, epigenetics. Is that how you say it? Epigenetics? It's a scientific study. It's proof that we rewire the circuitry. Even the DSM calls it circuitry. We're the programmers of this computer. The universe is created universe, the best computer ever created. Okay, we didn't even tap into it yet. We already use what they say 10%, 5%, 10% of our conscious awareness, which is aware what we're aware, what we observe. I don't know. How can they even measure that? But all I know is a lot of it's subconscious, which is habit, habitual, which is habit, done in habit. And then we even have 1 to 7 years old, which is hypnosis. It's not even habit. So we need to create new habits, to create new you, new me. I'm changing the DNA is creating a new me. When I think different, thoughts, feelings, action, the way I act, the way I think, feelings, and actions towards a desired outcome. That's why they all said the only requirement is a desire to stop whatever, because they all knew it. All the motivational back in Napoleon Hill, and they all know it comes from a desire, just means wanting. I want this. I'm going to put my attention to it. I'm going to focus my will and my energy, my attention. And I'm going to attract the attention. I'm going to attract and put into action what I desire. If you look back, I don't care if you're just getting in your car and going to the store. Think about it. All the things that you accomplished. Think about it. All the things that you've done throughout your life. It's just work the same way. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Yeah, we have limits. There's some limits, I believe. Let's see where we're taking this to. So, we got the WHO, the AMA, the APA, who writes the DSMs, and, they're going to tell us everything. They're going to be, the government is all connected because they're all paid off. The government is involved with all the lobbyists. It's all connected. They have persuasion, coercive persuasion to sway the politics. There's another profession. Politics a profession? I don't know. You got to get educated. Lawyers. Oh, that's the greatest ethical, moral, valued profession there is, right? Lawyers. Right? I'm not against schools and working towards something. All I'm saying is be careful of the college degrees today that they promised you something. They want 10,000 people to come out. They want to get maybe 100 great minds, and they want to pump them out to the corporations. It's like a feeding. It's like a conveyor belt. Schoolings, universities, colleges come out. Boop, 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 half of most of them will fall through the wayside and change their positions, and then you get Jordan Peterson, because I'll mention him. I like him. I don't put him on no pedestal. He's an intellectual. People love something different, and he articulates with different language. Articulates with different meanings of language. He uses all kinds of words that half of this shit I don't understand, but I can listen to him and understand everything he's saying without the words. But he's an intellectual circus. That's what he is. He's an intellectual, articulated person that could use words like I I rarely see. Okay, it's amusing, you know. He's saying the same thing that thousands of other people I've listened to or said that aren't so popular with so many likes and hits. Today it's all about the likes and the hits, and it's all about people wanting something different. Proclivity. He loves the word proclivity. So I had to me personally, I got to look up the crap that he says, But the one word's not going to change what the meaning of the conversation is, because I can see through the meanings and understand exactly where he's going. I believe Jordan Peterson is like a intellectual priest that takes us places all over the place, you know. But I think he's like the moral value priest. He's turning into a priest, like a priest, you know, a moral value priest. A lot of people love him. I like him too. I mean, I listen to a lot of different people. Proclivity. What's it mean? A tendency to choose or do something regularly. So a lot of us have proclivities to different types of substances or behaviors. Okay. So getting back to that enslavement. I mean, they even say it right here when I looked up and printed out all these pamphlets about enslavement, and I believe it's an enslavement, entrapment. It's a trap, and it's a trap. I don't care how you cut it. Alcoholics Anonymous and 12 Steps programs are religious. I come from a religious family. I did all the doctrine. I did all the rituals of the Catholic Church. It's like this. And I've done that. I've talked about it on many podcasts. And addiction is real. Okay, there's no question about it. Habit is defined as a regular or repetitive behavior or tendency, and is derived from the Latin word habitus. Habitus. It's a condition. I drink coffee every day, one coffee. That's a habit. I got a routine. You want to have discipline and a routine and a habit towards good things. Okay? Habit. But when the habit becomes problematic with cause and effect, which severe consequences, yes, intervention is good. There's a way intervention is good. Different programs are good. I say detox. Me personally, I know back in my days, I don't know too many people that went into detox. Look, every time I went out drinking for a whole weekend, 3 days, come back, I slept for 2 days. I was detoxing. I got up. I had to have a couple of drinks to settle my brain. It was just like I had to take a pill, like a pill. The alcohol was a pill to relieve my anxiety. And people say, how did that relieve your anxiety? It calmed me down. Okay. And I was detoxing. Every time I came out of a 3-day binger, I detoxed. Every time. And I know there's stories after stories that the people did not go into detox, but they were detoxing. I'm not suggesting don't go into detox. Okay. I didn't say that. So don't take my words and try to make them into something. Moral values. The disease of calling people alcoholic, raising your hand, saying stigma. Where else can I go with this? I don't think I can go much further. All I could tell you is it's so much easier and simple and more health. I think it's more healthy for the body and mind and spirit to say, I am powerful. I am healthy. Yes, I may get out of water once in a while. I may not be at ease once in a while. Today, I'm recovered from addiction, alcohol and drug addiction. I'm recovered. I only had to go there. Did we talk about addiction? No, we talked about more different things about stigmatizing. So if you're in Alcoholics Anonymous or any 12-step program, I don't care if you're in Smart Recovery. I don't care where you are. Okay, because if you go to a Smart Recovery meeting, you're going to see 3/4 of the people there they've been indoctrinated to a 12-step program. Look, I'm a I'm a smart recovery facilitator, but I haven't facilitated meetings since the COVID. Okay, since a couple of years. Okay, I started my own groups. I searched out my own place. I did a. You don't have to call me a facilitator today because I don't want to be called one. Okay, but I know about these programs. I've been involved for many years, and I know that you could get yourself a book. There's nothing wrong with a $15 handbook learning CBT and REBT, rational behavioral therapy. Doesn't most therapists use cognitive behavioral therapists? For 15 bucks, you could save yourself a lot of money. Go on. You're creating your own program no matter what. So why don't you just own it? Yeah. Yeah, I'm creating my own program. I'm going to check this out, this out, this out. I'm going to check a little bit of this out. I'm going to make it my own, roll it into one. But there's people that don't have to do any of that. Okay, they don't want to. They're living healthy, vibrant, moral, value lives. I see a lot of people that are in CrossFit. They're exercising. They're into nature. They're doing different things to help other people. They're refocusing their energy and their attention. Constructive, creative, vital creativity. They're doing it in many different ways, many different ways. And my hats are off to all of them, because I understand where they're at. They're refocusing their mind and they're trying to live a better lifestyle. So that's going to be enough of that for today. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you later.